This will win or lose the football game, and again, it will be Christie as the lone deep back. Ortiz is on the line of scrimmage. Here comes O'Brien. They're going to hand it off to him. Third down and 10, 4-down territory. Flips it, dangerous, but Joey O'Brien has it. And like this, you're going to need those plays to go your way. Oh my goodness. Chalk Talk after game number 2 is upon us here. Brett Gordon, head coach of the LaSalle Explorers, good enough to join us. Brett, congratulations on an exciting down-to-the-wire win against Malvern Prep. Incredible rivalry, 2 really good teams. Anybody that tuned in for that one, either whether in person or on the stream, I think had some excitement that night. What did you guys see from your sideline?
Yeah, all the people that I've spoken to or seen since the game, congratulating us about what an exciting game. My comment is for the fans, yes, maybe not so much for us coaches, but having time to decompress, since Friday night, you look at it and it was a great atmosphere with 2 great high school football programs. My hat's off to Malvern for the way they prepared and also the way they played on Friday. I walked away very impressed with really every facet of their team. To come out with the victory, against that quality of a program, a top-ranked team in the state yet again, was a really good thing for us. I was proud of the way we kind of handled some adversity as a team at various points of that game with the back and forth nature of it. And then in particular, the final drive where the game was in the balance, starting on our own 20-yard line, and our offense put together a really good drive to get down the field and score. But again, similar to the Central Catholic win, anytime you can win against a good opponent and have a lot of things to work on and focus on as a staff with the players, to me is a very good learning lesson. In week 1, it was, hey, offensively, we got a lot to clean up. And then after last week, there's more of a defensive focus of things we gotta get back to some basics on. So all we talked about really yesterday and even Monday is, hey, we still haven't yet played our version of a complete football game in all 3 phases, and that's what we're striving for.
Let's get into game situations here, and this one was interesting. We discussed the 2 options on the air, and then we deferred to you. And I said it's why I don't want to be a high school football coach. Penalty against Malvern Prep, Joey O'Brien, pass interference. You have first and goal from inside the 10, $1:55 to go, Malvern with 1 timeout. Did you at any point think about either taking a knee or running a play to come short of the end zone to take time off the clock? Or were you thinking, we got to get points, punch it in, no guarantees there, and then trust the defense?
I'll be honest with you. One of the assistant coaches over the headset, brought up the concept of, hey, is there any type of strategy we kind of want to play here? Honestly, Bob, for me personally, it did not cross my mind. I don't want to say it didn't cross my mind. To me, there was nothing really to discuss. It was, we got to go score. Listen, I can certainly understand the side of an argument to say, hey, take a couple knees, force them to use their timeouts, kick a field goal, and now you're somewhere in that 30 to 35 second range, maybe, where now they have to go down. And so as I think through all of that, Malvern had a very good place kicker, which we knew going into the game. So that was one of those things of, yeah, it's only 30 seconds, but in high school football with the clock stopping every time there's a first down, plus when you're going to kick off, you're probably not going to kick it deep. So now you're probably giving them the ball somewhere around the 30, 35-yard line. All they need is maybe 2 decent completions to be in field goal range. And honestly, my thought was, hey,
wind
we
at his
scored a
back
touchdown.
too, by the way, right? He's kicking at the
Correct.
end zone at
Going
night.
towards
Yeah.
the scoreboard. So, listen, I certainly understand every side of the argument. Part of what makes football the greatest sport, in my opinion, is everybody has an opinion. Everybody's a coach, and it's what makes the sport as popular as it is. So I get all the different perspectives, and I guess you could call it arguments of what you should do. I believe that we got to score. We got to score a touchdown. If it took us two downs, I was prepared for that. That wasn't going to
Hmm.
be the end of the world.
Right.
And then we did a great job blocking, and X did a great job getting the ball in the end zone. That being said, when you want to look at
Let
it
me
for,
ask you a question. Did you see them playing full bore, or is there any shot
yeah,
they
they
let you
they
guys
did they
score?
did not let us. They didn't let us score.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't let us score. Um, and then honestly, if you play by that strategy, our defense played
Hmm.
great against Central Catholic. We certainly didn't have our best stuff on Friday. But if you go back and look at that last drive, at one point, Malvern had 32 seconds left on the clock with the ball on the 16-yard line.
We made
At one
we
point
we made
after
that
the personal
that
foul
same.
penalty. So if you were to
Yeah.
say to me, "Hey, you got a 7-point lead and they got to go 85 yards with 32
Yep.
seconds left," I would have said I feel pretty good about our chances.
That's
Now,
right.
what transpired from then is something we got to address and make sure that never happens again. Um, we played a very kind of uncharacteristic set of down and distances there over the last 30 seconds of the game, which could have cost us. So we got to learn from it. We got to get better from it. But I think from a strategic standpoint, I was thinking nothing more than we're going to score and our defense is going to make a stop.
Yeah. And then in terms of looking at the game as a whole, you guys only trailed for 7 seconds, 8 seconds of regulation. And that's because you have the 400-meter record holder at LaSalle taking one back right after Malvern Prep scores, Jimmy Mahoney. If you could speak to him as well as the special teams effort as a whole. I said it to you after the game, but I don't remember a better special teams game, beg your pardon, in my time covering LaSalle.
The coolest part about the special teams effort the other night was it prompted an email from Coach Joe Callistra, who was my head coach, that sent me an email over the weekend, basically saying how proud he was as a former coach and alumnus, because Coach Callistra was always harping on special teams. Special teams were a huge part of his success as a head coach for the years he was there, and certainly a big success when I was a player under him. So that was pretty cool. The crazy part is we should have had three special teams touchdowns. We had a punt return later in the second half that was a return right. And if Owen, as he catches the punt, if he just stays up the Malvern sideline, he literally walks in the end zone. There was nobody outside the hash on that side of the field. So we had two special teams touchdowns on the kick returns, which were very well executed by everybody, not just the returners, but certainly how we blocked. And we could have had a third. So it's three phases of the game. When I hired, Coach French back in the offseason, he had had a significant background in both defense and special teams. So primarily when he took over, it was, hey, special teams is going to be the big focal point for you. And he has jumped in with both feet. He's engaged the kids really well. Um, and yet, when he hosted the special teams meeting on Monday, we spent an entire meeting showing everybody what wasn't so good that the film shows that, the casual fan watching the game doesn't see. So there's actually a lot more room to get better, believe it or not. That's what we're striving for. Elite is the word we use, that the type of special teams we want to have. And we're on our way there. We're not quite there yet. But certainly, I don't think we win that game Friday night without the two special teams touchdowns. I don't, I just, they were the differentiator in the game, in my opinion.
And I don't want to lose sight of the blocking and everything that you said behind the play that allows Jimmy Mahoney, Owen Johnson to make those returns. But what do each of those two young men bring to the table? Certainly speed, vision, etc. And I know we briefly talked about it off air, maybe one little room for improvement about making sure that that football is tucked all the way into the end zone as well.
So, Owen and Jimmy are both dynamic athletes with the ball in their hand. We were excited about Owen coming up as a sophomore. We watched him very closely last year. You could see the talent was there. And Owen's done a great job from a maturity standpoint with that growth from freshman year to sophomore year, who's somebody we're really counting on. I'll get back to him in a second. And then Jimmy coming into his senior year this year, you spoke to his track talents. He is that fast, but I think even some of us probably underestimated how much he's grown in the last year as far as his football awareness, really on both sides of the ball. And not only did Jimmy make a great run on the kick return, he also had a huge tackle, I think, on our last kickoff where we pinned them kind of
Hmm.
deep in their own territory. Um, so as the head coach, and certainly from an offensive perspective, we view kick returns as an offensive play. So we want to make sure we're getting the ball as best we can in the hands of our playmakers. I'll address the elephant in the room. Obviously, when Owen had his kick return for a touchdown, I know it was the talk of the town. We dropped the ball before we got in the end zone, and there's video evidence to support it. Let's just say I think Owen was a little nervous coming into the special teams meeting on Monday. We addressed it, kind of put it to bed. I think it's safe to say that everybody on our team knows that if anything like that happens again, it's probably not going to be a good ending. Um, but at the same time, we have an opportunity to teach a really valuable lesson. And sometimes they're lessons that we assume people know, but sometimes you need real life experience for it to really hit home. So I don't foresee any footballs being dropped short of the goal line ever again.
There you go. There you go. One more note on Jimmy before we move on. You talked about making the play on special teams, making the tackle, of course, the kick return. Uh, I think him being that extra receiver, an additional option on the outside, and the big play. I don't know if I think it was third down, maybe third or fourth, something like that. It was a huge
Third
play.
and 12.
Um,
Third and
Third
12.
and 12, and good footwork by Gavin Sidwar, by the way, to step up in the pocket. But what I thought he does so well, Jimmy, not just the speed, but the awareness of time and space to turn into that defender, right? To, rather than flatten the route, catch and turn downhill, force that defender to kind of break down and then jet to the outside when he had the leverage. I thought that was a big time move right around the first down marker.
Yeah, if you look at the first two games overall, you could argue that Jimmy's had five or six of the most important plays of the season so far. And I mean that. He had a big third down conversion in the Central Catholic game, which led to one of our scores. He also caught the pass on fourth down where we were lined up in our punt formation where they didn't cover down on him. Gavin ended up throwing him a
Mm-hmm.
pass. Then he made a move, gained about an extra 10, 15 yards. And then the other night, the kick return, the tackle on the kickoff, which I already mentioned,
Yep.
and then the shallow cross on third and 12 where, he just used his God-given talent. And I think the part for me that's been most impressive is to your point, a lot of what you can't teach, which is once the ball's in his hand, what are his instincts on the field? So when I look at our team, and coaching in general, in my opinion, is how do you take the talent of what your players are and then build around them, right? So when I look at our skill set as an offensive group, defensive group, special teams group, um, we have a number of guys from a skill position standpoint that can put a lot of stress on the defense. So, I look at it as it's important for me to make sure that we don't need to have all the perfect plays designed all the time. It's how do we put guys in the right positions to just use their skill sets? And if you look at two of those third down conversions where Jimmy's catching the ball 7, 8 yards short of the sticks,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know how hard that guy is to tackle. And sometimes, that's the best strategy of, hey, put it in your playmakers' hands and just let them go play. So to see the contributions Jimmy's made already just gives myself and the rest of the coaching staff more and more reasons to build things into the game plan for him specifically.
Hard to imagine we've gotten this far, Brett Gordon, head coach of LaSalle, without talking about Gavin Sidwar and Joey O'Brien and that connection. 3 touchdown catches for Joey. I think it was Gavin's best game as a quarterback down here at at Ocean City, New Jersey, and those two. I mean, what did you see this week that maybe Central Catholic took out of the equation a little bit the prior week, and those two being so dynamic?
I think one of the things when you have a player like Joey is, and I admit this as a coach, sometimes you're anticipating certain things going to happen in a game where it's almost like, all right, well, they're not going to continue to let Joey beat us. So now we got to make sure we have plan B and plan C. And Joe, the Central Catholic game was a little bit unique for Joey. I think he had 6 catches, but he had 2 or 3 probably impactful plays. But he also had the injury with the cut he was dealing with the whole second
Hmm.
half, which I really wasn't trying to make him a focal point because he couldn't extend his arms, and I didn't want to put him in harm's
Hmm.
way if we didn't have to. That being said, my takeaway going into week 2 was, you know, I've said this a number of times. I don't think there's a better wide receiver anywhere than Joey O'Brien. And one of the things I talked to Gavin and Joey about it during the week was we're getting the ball to Joey under any and all circumstances this week because he's Joey.
Hmm.
So knowing that that was kind of the strategy going in, and the first opportunity we really had, with the short field, just to take a shot and throw him the ball and score on it, it was kind of like, yeah, this is, again, like what I said earlier, let's not overcomplicate this. We got a pretty good player over there, and then certainly a guy that can get him the ball. But then Joey impacted the game on offense from multiple positions on the field. I mean, he was the split end catching a touchdown. He was the number 3 receiver on his second touchdown. He hurt them with some seam routes from 2 different positions. So I'm trying to figure out ways to move him around to eliminate defense's opportunities to, kind of track him and figure out what the scheme and plan is going to be. And I think the more versatile he and our offense can be as the season goes on, it's going to be that much more difficult for teams to defend us. Um, so yes, it was very important we get Joey involved to see his success. Certainly, I'm not surprised, and we got to make sure that as the weeks go by, that Joey is always going to be a major focal point of what we're doing on offense, and we got to get him the ball.
Salesianum, then let's move on and talk about your next opponent, because all you have is another state champion, state runner up, big time program coming up, this time out of the state of Delaware. Another program where you have a lot of values in common, institution wise. Spoke with Gene. Seems like a terrific guy running a great program. State runner up last year, state champion 2 years ago. What type of challenge does Salesianum bring on Friday night?
Yeah, when you watch them on film, and I agree, I've had a chance to speak with Coach Gene, and great guy. It's very apparent on film that his teams play with a lot of passion, which to me speaks to the culture of what he's built there. Um, they play with a lot of energy. They're very disciplined. You can tell they're very well coached, and they play a very aggressive style of football, which again is a testament to what he does and the type of program they're building. They certainly have some players on film that we're well aware we have to be ready for on both sides of the ball. Again, the parallels you draw of, the type of school Salesianum is, the type of school Salle is. I think it's a great opportunity. Hopefully, this is the first of many games that we are able to play with these guys. That's kind of the plan as we entered into this game this year. They have an outstanding facility down there that's supposed to be another electric environment for our players. This hopefully is going to be the third week in a row where we're playing in front of a packed house, loud, fun stadium environment for our players to be a part of against a perennial team in the state of Delaware. So our kids know that we have to be up for the challenge. But I've said, as I continue to say week to week, we really try not to spend as much time on our opponents as we do on making sure that, we're focused on our process and making sure that, we're the biggest opponent in our eyes that we have to worry about every week, and making sure that we're not in a situation of beating ourselves. I think in each of the first 2 games, we've kind of taken turns at various parts of offense, defense, special teams of not being at our best, that at some point is going to come back to bite us if we don't shore everything up across the board. So that's our focus. That's going to continue to be our focus. But we're expecting a very exciting competitive game Friday night.
We are as well. Excellent job with the scheduling, coach, and we will see you down in Delaware Friday, 7 p.m. kick on Bob Long Sports. Thanks as always for doing this.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bob.